Mr. Šider, you're meeting the Prime Minister of North Macedonia, Mr. Kovacevski, this evening in Brussels. And before, you were quoted saying that individual EU states must not longer stand in the way of the EU integration of the Western Balkan countries as a whole for national reasons. Can you, how this sentence resonates with your Bulgarian colleagues? Have you had a conversation?
I think in the European Parliament there is a very, very broad consensus, and let's say all democratic forces from all the countries more or less share this opinion. There are only a few members of parliament which have a little bit other issues to discuss. But we are united because we know that North Macedonia undertook extreme big reforms, was always fulfilling also what was demanded by the international community. And it's due time now to give the green light for the negotiations in order to start also future reforms and cooperations with the European Union. And therefore, we think that this kind of discussions between Bulgaria and North Macedonia on cultural and other aspects could be perfectly integrated into the negotiations of the accession. I think blocking is not a good signal. Speaking and talking is the better one.
The governments now have strengthened their dialogue. I mean, there are more contacts in different areas of the functioning of the country, of the societies. Do you see any closer, are we closer to the lifting of the veto of Bulgaria? Do you have that feeling?
I'm not part of this. This is a good question. I'm not part of these talks, but what I hear from both sides is that the talks are going quite well. And I think this is a good signal. And I think it's also the best way always to talk. And I honestly have to say, I always appreciated this open and fair way how this current Macedonian government is approaching also problems which are on the way. Simply to reach out for the other side and to talk, to try to find a compromise. And I hope it is fruitful.
In the wake of the Russian invasion of Ukraine, we in the Western Balkans have heard dozens of times the words that it is necessary to send a positive signal to the countries of this region. EU must make it clear the future lies in Europe, within the European Union. But a lot of people, not just in North Macedonia, but in the region, they really doubt. The disappointment after 17 or 18 years of waiting and listening promises created strong anti-EU feelings, and even now pro-Putin feelings. I'm sure you will agree that this is dangerous.
It is completely dangerous because the Western Balkan and North Macedonia in specifically are entire part of the European history, of the European present, and also of the European future. So I think there is no doubt that there is also a European future. And when I talk to, for example, the young generation in North Macedonia, but also in other countries of the Western Balkans, they, of course, they want to be part of the European Union. And they are sometimes also fed up that things are not going quick enough. And honestly, between us, they are perfectly right on this. Things really could go quicker. But they also know whatever happens, the future has to be a European. There is no alternative than Europe.
Is it possible for a clear timetable from the EU towards Western Balkans? You have mentioned that it is necessary not only for Albania and North Macedonia that accession talks should start earlier, then for Kosovo, for visa liberalization, for Bosnia and Herzegovina, Montenegro and Serbia also a clear message that accession process should proceed and this process to be completed. Can you see some of those mentioned countries already member of the EU in the coming years?
Of course, it is also depending on the speed of reforms, and it must be a way forward, not a way backward. So also we see in some areas, in some regions also that, for example, media freedom and political system is not good enough. But I am trusted that the reform path of having functioning governments, fighting corruptions, fighting for social justice, improvement of infrastructure, and all these issues are also helping that in the future these countries will be quite part of the European Union. Yes, as you can see, I'm not a young politician anymore. And I want to see North Macedonia member of the European Union when I'm still member of the European Parliament, so quite soon.
Thank you, Mr. Šidер. I would like to ask about the current situation between West and Russia. Representatives from Poland mentioned, suggested some kind of NATO peace mission to be sent to Ukraine. The reaction from Moscow was strong, suggesting that it could lead to a proper open conflict. What is the prospect of this war in Ukraine in the coming weeks, in the coming not just days but weeks? What is your position?
Maybe to say, first of all, clearly, it is Putin's war, Putin's bloody war, which is costing thousands and 10,000s of lives of people which have nothing to do with this war and which are only victims. Secondly, what we urgently need is that the fighting will be stopped and that the serious negotiations are taken. But we don't see this at the moment. So I think we have to work on to stop the war, to support the Ukrainians, to support the civil population of Ukraine, but not to expand the war to all over Europe, because there is also a danger that this might end up in a third world war. So we have to be quite wise, but also to be clear that we have to stop Putin, because what he is doing is against humanity. And our project is to strengthen humanity.
I'm not sure, but probably the sanctions would be even stronger after the NATO meeting, after the NATO summit tomorrow, because we are doing this interview a day before. The consequences also will be strong on the other side, on the Western side. How EU can help the poorer countries?
It is true. Sanctions are not, let's say, not unproblematic. There will be also an effect on the European economy and in the European states and on the normal people also. But we have also to say, the sanctions imposed are showing also already strong results. Russian economy is down. Russian currency is completely down. Putin is facing a huge problem, which he only can solve while he's forbidding simply all the media and all the information, so screwing up his dictatorship. But it's true. And I had a talk today also online with one of the members of the Macedonian Sobranje. And of course, the situation of energy supply, of rising prices in Europe, but also in the Balkans and also in North Macedonia are a problem. Therefore, the European Union has to find its measures also to go against this. For example, that they are now working on an energy union, which is trying to get also alternative suppliers, but also to, let's say, invest more in green energy. And on all these points, in my opinion, the Western Balkan states, if they are candidate or not, are already from the beginning on partners of the European Union. It must be a program not only for the EU member states, it must be a program for the EU member states, 27, plus all the Western Balkan states, all including, first of all, North Macedonia.
Thank you, Mr. Šidер. Hopefully we'll talk again in better framework, in better moment next time. Thank you for your time.
I hope also.
Thank you for being a guest in Clan Debata.